Hello everybody, my name is Allison. If you're new here, welcome. I write YA dark fantasy and I love to read. So I am starting a new thing today where I review indie books. So that's independently published books. And I'm so happy to start this series off with this book because this girl is an amazing girl and I love her so much. And this book, let me tell you, I loved it so much. To start this series off with, The Violet Theory by Elodie, Iver. This book focuses around a girl named Mavis, and she lives in a society in the future, so it's more of a dystopian society, and she finds out that she is special because of a question mark on her wrist, and she meets a charming, oh my gosh, I love him so much, boy named Beck, and with that, he reveals the secret about the Violet Theory. And they go on an adventure, and there's pirates, and there's fights, and there's like cowboys in this, and I was just like really into it. There's everything that I could hope for. I have come to the conclusion it is the Hunger Games feel. So like when I first read this, I felt like I was reading the Hunger Games. Westworld plus Pirates of the Caribbean, because like pirates and cowboys like combined, and also a dash of like Red Queen. So, you know, I was real into this and I can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts once they go pick it up on Amazon. It's in ebook form and in paperback. So we open the book up and we are introduced to Mavis and Kit, who are at this book burning. At the unmasked, you don't know what her face looks like, Queen has decided that they are going to burn all the books. Mavis is holding the book called The Violet Theory, and it has a girl on it, and she's really attached to this book and she doesn't know why. Her father is also the chief of like the city, so he's like the like head honcho up there. But as soon as Mavis throws the book into the fire, a young boy steps out of line and her father is about to beat him, and Mavis to the rescue comes in clutch and like is like, excuse me, father, you're not gonna beat this boy. And she saves the boy and he doesn't get beat. And that's when she sees for the first time this mysterious blonde-haired officer who later on we discover is Beck. Beck is my new book boyfriend. He is just everything I want in a boy. And then Kit drops the bomb that he is going to be moving to Phantom, which is a city that is like the science capital. And I was real sad because I really liked Kit's character, and I'm glad that he came back around in the end. We meet Beck, and Mavis is not having it, and she runs away from Beck, and Beck ends up catching up to her and is like, meet me at this place at this time and I will explain everything to you. Meet Juniper Jones, and he's this weird guy in this old shop that's rhyming off riddles and being just a freaking weirdo, and I was creeped out by him. Beck and Juniper are talking to Mavis about being a violet and how the question mark, the purple question mark on her wrist is actually a sign that she was a part of genetic testing. Her blood is pretty much poison to others. It's not to her, but to others it's poison, and because of this, the Queen wants to eradicate all of the violets and to drain her blood. Sounds like fun. Thanks. Obviously, Mavis is like, I'm not down to have my blood drained and be killed because of my blood, something I didn't even choose. And so her and Beck run away. Oh, also when we're in Juniper Jones's like shop, or with Juniper Jones, this is the first time we find out that Beck was a part of the Queen's Royal Navy, and then he got deranked, but we don't know why. I was real concerned that like maybe Beck was working with the Queen still, and I didn't really trust him at the beginning because I thought, oh well, if you've worked with the Queen before, maybe he's still working with the queen. After that, Beck and Mavis escape the city on the train where there's the tiger in the queen scene. Again, I was very nervous that Beck was working with the queen because I just found it strange that the queen was on this train and that she was like, I don't know, like talking to Beck just so casually and being like, don't let this happen again because you don't have royal privileges anymore. And I don't know, I felt really uneasy about that, how the queen was just like so open with Beck right there. And we also get the scene on the train with the compass. I knew this compass was going to come back into play, and it does. This specific compass only finds venom veins, or the violets. We also find the book that is going to lead to Judith and Carlisle's Foy's home. But before this, we have an awesome capture and fight scene with the guard. Mavis like tricks him, and it's so cool. They get captured, and the guard is like messing with, well, Beck is messing with the guard, I should say, because it's Beck, and he's messing, of course, with him, because what else would Beck have to do? Nothing. He's captured. He's bored. He's gonna mess with the guard. But the guard gets pissed and starts beating up on Beck, and Mavis is like, well, crap, I'm gonna have to distract him. And we have this really cool escape scene where Mavis like tricks the guard, and she backs up into the corner, and the guard's like, got you. And she's like, punked, I've got your keys. And she runs out of the cell that they were in and locks the guard in there and is like, sucker. We learned from Beck that a few years ago in Rabbit, multiple houses combusted due to high methane concentrates from the livestock, and they call it Fury Friday. Pretty much this house blew up and everyone inside perished. Greeted by Judith, who informs us that Carlo died in Fury Friday. While we're in the house with Mavis, Beck, and Judith, Mavis also finds a picture with a little girl and an older man, and finally Mavis realizes this is President Gray, and Judith informs us that this is President Gray and his daughter, who used to come, and she's holding this tea set that she always had, and she really liked this tea set, and the tea set comes back around. Judith says, the queen killed his daughter, and you can't tell me otherwise. She's a wicked woman. Let me tell you, on my notes right here is, in all capitalized letters, is the queen President Gray's daughter? The Violet Theory book that Mavis threw in to the fire at the beginning of the book comes back around and is actually a manual for the Violets and a manual to, I think it says destroy or use the Violets to like destroy the world pretty much. And so they go to Carlisle and Judith's Foy's house to try to find these Mercury manuals, and we realize that Fury Friday was a whole ploy for the queen to get this second manual. Mavis finally looks at the parchment that she found in the photo with President Gray and his daughter, and there's a whole note about where this third manual is in the vicinity that they're traveling. Finally, to Beck's pleasure, we get on his ship, and we realize that Skip was the boy at the burning ceremony, and he was the distraction, and I was just so happy that that came around. I love Skip as a character. He's so fun, and he's just so lovable. We find out where these coordinates are going, and Captain Beck is not very happy because we have to go to Junction, and this is where Beck is from and where Beck has been running away from. Find out that Beck's dad is a part of the Blind Riders, who's pretty much are assassins, and they have control over Junction, and if anyone pretty much pisses them off, they're gone, like they're dead. Amongst this, when we're learning about them, they're also trying to find someone who knows something about the Mercury manual or who has the Mercury manual, but Salome and Mavis do not get along, so they kind of have a rift, and Mavis goes off by herself, which, yeah, that's a good idea, Mavis. And she meets Marin, who is the creator of the Hangman's Hurdle, a rebel paper, a newspaper, and then also writes for the Imperial One, which is the Queen's newspaper. And they also mentioned to Mavis about the revealing ball, that the Queen is finally going to reveal her face after all this time to her people. And then we got the saloon showdown between Mavis, Beck, and the owner, and I loved this scene. They bust in there, they're like, tell me where Etna is, and he's like, no, this is my bar. And it's during this time there's a gun on the desk, and Beck picks it up and is playing with it and is being all sly, and he puts it back down, and the guy picks it up and aims it right at Beck, and he goes to shoot, and there's no bullet in there, because guess what? Beck had gotten that bullet out. Don't bring a gun to a sword fight. I just felt like that line was perfect, because Beck had taken the bullet and then threatens pretty much the man's life with his sword by pushing it up against his throat. And finally the guy caves and is like, Etna's upstairs. So we go upstairs, meet Etna, and she doesn't want to give the manual up, but in the process we find out a little bit more about Charlie and Layla, who Charlie has Layla, and Etna says she's worse off because your brother found her first. I didn't know how to feel about that, because I really didn't know a lot about Charlie at this point, so I didn't know what to feel in regards to Charlie taking Layla. So I was kind of confused. We were also getting the sense that maybe Beck wasn't all he was cracked up to be, and he wasn't a good guy. But I just didn't know what to believe with Etna right there. So they get away, and the blind riders are coming for them, and they catch up to him, and like they're like, oh, Beck, you shouldn't have come around here because your dad's looking for you, and his offer still stands. And Beck just gives up Mavis and is like, yeah, she has the mark, so like, do you really want to kill her? Like, she has the mark. But like, why would you tell them that? If you're trying to keep Mavis such a big secret, why would you tell the blind riders that she has the mark? Then Beck gets shot, and I was losing my mind. I literally screamed, and I was like, Beck's shot. Like, what are we gonna do? Mavis has to dig this bullet out of his shoulder, and he's bleeding all over the place, and Mavis is tired and dehydrated, and she passes out. But it all ends up being fine, because then we meet Lucas, which I loved Lucas, by the way. I thought he was such a sweet character, and I really, really, really loved him. And he tells Mavis that she is safe, and they're in this like caved place. And then we get the Beck and Mavis reunion, where Mavis goes and she finds that Beck's bed is empty where she left him, and he is there, and she runs and gives him a hug, and like, oh my gosh, that is like the moment I started shipping Beck and Mavis so hard. Like, I wanted them to like kiss or like have a moment in this book, but don't worry, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for their moment, and that is the moment I started shipping them, and I was like, I know I love Beck, but let me tell you. After we have the adorable moment between Mavis and Beck, because just love it, they figure out that Mavis's blood is the key to find the other Mercury manual, so she cuts her hand, puts it on the paper, and the red dot disappears and gives them the key to where the next Mercury manual is. And then Beck goes and tells Lucas about Mavis. How many more people are we going to tell that Mavis is a violet? Like, okay, I'm not as mad that we told Lucas, because I really like Lucas and I think he's an adorable little baby that I love him so much. And only that Beck just keeps running his mouth to everyone about Mavis. Like, can you not keep a secret for more than 2 chapters? Apparently not. Also, we get the cute scene between Beck and the kids, how they talk about the story, the ship crew who sank to the bottom of the sea, and this is the same story that goes along with the next Mercury manual, and that is why the Mercury manual is said to be at the bottom of the sea, because it's with the crew captain. We get the big shock of why Beck is helping Mavis, and I was really angry at Beck about how he was using Mavis as a bargaining deal to get Layla back. And I don't know, I just like, I get it. I totally get it from Beck's perspective. He wanted to save his sister, and Farah made him a deal where he could save his sister, and he was going to use Mavis as that. But then he got to know Mavis, and he really likes Mavis. I don't know. I just thought it was a really crappy thing, but at least that was the only, like, really crappy thing that I feel like Beck did, because it could have been a lot worse. Then they devised this plan to get the book, get Layla out plan. And like I said right there, it sounds like a brilliant plan, but it sounds like it's going to go horribly wrong. After all of this, and they leave the cavern, and they leave Lucas and everybody, we get back on the ship, and Holden wants to start shit. And I was like, homie, who do you think you are? I know you hate Beck because Daddy gave Beck the captain role, and you should have had the captain role, you think, but like, you would have made a horrible captain. You were captain for 5 minutes and you made a horrible captain. But yeah, he wants to be captain, and he's ready to fight Beck to the death to be captain. And he also wants to throw Mavis off the side of the boat because she finally stands up to Holden and realizes Holden planned Beck getting shot, or tipped off the writers to shoot Beck. They get sucked overboard, and Mavis wakes up with Jewel, Ducky, and Major talking, which I really liked these characters. I thought they were sirens at first, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're mermaids. And then they weren't. They were like people with like jewel eyes, and like each one had something different. And we also meet Mitra, and she ends up being like the captain that is said to like kill sailors, and she's actually a woman. And I loved that. I was like, girl power. And she gives Mavis the Mercury manual, and all of that like crew, Mitra's crew, has a sweet moment. And I believe it was Ducky who asked Mavis not to forget them, and I was like, I'm not gonna forget you, Ducky. I've only met you for 5 seconds, but I'm not gonna forget you. And Queen Mavis jumps back on the boat and pretty much cuts Holden. Like, I was so proud of her. I was like, yes, you cut that boy. I'm so done with you. Then Charlie Pryor shows up. Oh, Holden, this is the moment you realize you royally messed up. And guess what? Charlie doesn't get them because everyone dips off of like a little side ship and leaves Holden on the boat so Charlie can get to him. And I was like, bye, won't miss you on the way out. Then they go on this mission to get Layla out and get the 4th Mercury manual, and they get ready, and Sloane and Mavis have this little girl time where Sloane does her makeup and picks out a dress, and Beck does a double tap Mavis, and I was like, you do that double take to that gorgeous girl up there, because that is the girl you're going to love. That is the girl you love. You just don't know it. Also, another reason why I like love Beck is he says, last thing, if anything happens, save yourself, which I knew was foreshadowing. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to go as planned. One of you is going to either get captured or killed. But I was like, oh my gosh, he does care. Like, he does care. Then Kit comes back into the picture. They get to the revealing ball, and Mavis goes up to him and makes him dance with him, and he's being kind of a little butt crack. And I was like, Kit, I don't care how long you've been in Phantom. Remember who you are and help Mavis out. Finally, he agrees to help her go and find the Mercury manual, and he is slick and gets around the guards. But then she goes into the room and is throwing the queen's dresses, just like, I don't care. But I was like, if you wanted, the whole mission was to get in and out like ghosts. Like, no one was supposed to know you're there. This isn't sticking to plan, Mavis. Like, we all know you're not gonna pick those up. The queen's gonna know if you have the Mercury manual, if her dresses are just everywhere. Press Club bombs the freaking palace because they realize the Venevanes are gone because Kit and some of the other scientists help get them out and save them, but the Chaos Club doesn't know that, so they bomb everything and they just send everything into a tailspin. And I was like, this is it. This is where everything goes to shit. Kit like tells Mavis not to hide. He shoves a book into her hand, and she goes and hides. And the queen comes out. Mavis's stupid parents are there. This other guy that I don't know is there. Kit's just like hanging around trying not to spill his guts and be nervous, but like he's real nervous. And then everyone else in the Chaos Club and the crew and Beck are all tied up, and they're like, where's Mavis? Where's Mavis? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Find her yourself. And Mavis is hiding in the balcony watching all this happen. Finally, the queen realizes that Beck is not going to talk, so she's like, you go get Layla. And he's like, shit. And so then the queen is threatening to kill Layla, and Lucas is freaking out, and Beck is freaking out, and finally Mavis is like, the queen wants me and not this. She's not gonna let Layla get killed for her. So she comes out and she's like, I'm what you want. And she's standing there and she's talking to the queen. She's talking to crap to the queen, and I was like, yes, get it, girl. The part that got me, picks herself up. She makes the queen release everybody, and Beck is screaming, you promised. That part, I was literally sobbing. Like, I was in my bed at 3 a.m. sobbing because I was like, you did promise, Beck. Like, you did. Like, he is heartbroken. Like, you can see how much he cares for you. And she's captured by the queen, and they try to take her blood, but they can't get her blood because it like hardens up, and they're not able to get it. So it's obvious that her blood is protecting her. Kit made me mad at the end of the book, cause like I know he's trying to be like helpful and like kind and stuff, but like he's kind of being a jerk at the end. Like, I don't know, there was just something off with Kit at the end, and I don't know if it's just like he's being brainwashed or he doesn't like seeing Mavis in pain, but Kit was making me mad at the end. Get that dream sequence at the end with Kit in the water talking about how he's never seen the water, and Mavis and Beck are up on the ship talking. I'm crying because I was like, this is how it should have been. It should have been like this, but no, you gave yourself up. The Chaos Club bombed everything, and everything's just a mess. Then we find out, because the queen brings Mavis in to have tea and is talking, and it's like, this is how I wanted it. I really wanted you to be like, give yourself up willingly. Like, this wasn't how it's supposed to be, and blah, 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 blah. And she pulls out the tea set, and guess what? It's the same tea set as in the picture with the president. I was freaking right. And she has the same red question mark on her wrist, and I was like, I was right. I was so right. And yeah, that's how the book ends off, with Mavis finding out that the queen is President Grey's daughter. But I highly recommend The Violet Theory. As you can see, I had a lot of feels. I loved it so much. So I highly recommend. This is a 5 out of 5 star review for me. And go check out Elodie's book. I will link it down below with the Amazon link. And I will also link Elodie's Twitter and Instagram down below. I will see you in the next video, loves. Bye.